Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing for you Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate on the Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by the superb Jim Norman and has been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. From the outside, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate looks a lot like Hades. The room-based gameplay, upgrade and power-up systems, approach to storytelling, and hack-and-slash combat will be no stranger to those who have played the award-winning godlike roguelike. But this is no bad thing. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery after all, and Splintered Fate throws it out like a shuriken in this rum-based romp of the sewers. However, the comparisons to Supergiant's Critical Darling are a double-edged sword. On the one hand, Splintered Fate is Hades, and anyone who enjoyed evading the wrath of the god of the underworld will find much to enjoy here. On the other hand, this is not Hades, and the inevitable comparisons that it draws with combat, performance, and visuals may be its biggest shell-kicking. Splintered Fate arrived fresh-faced and bushy-tailed, or whatever the turtle equivalent of that is, on Apple Arcade in May 2023. Launching on the mobile gaming service with very little fanfare, Super Evil Megacorp's roguelike did not make quite the splash that we are used to seeing from the Heroes in a Half Shell, and its platform exclusivity kept it that way for the next 12 months. Now on Switch, it feels like the game has finally found its home. This is the same run-based roguelike that you'll find on mobile, but with some added bells and whistles, such as revamped visuals, new controls, and a much-requested 4-player couch co-op mode that makes the Switch port feel that bit more appealing. These new features are all welcome additions, but they all rely on the strength of the base game, and fortunately, Splintered Fate is actually pretty good. In the most daring of plot devices, Master Splinter has been kidnapped, and it's up to Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo to get him back. To do so, the brothers must battle their way out of the sewers and up to the rooftops, taking out rooms of fiendish foot soldiers and malicious mousers while grabbing ability-altering power-ups along the way. On defeat, you are transported back to the underground lair, where you can cash in your collectibles to level up before heading out to try again. As both a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story and a roguelike, there's nothing too original here, but it works all the same. Each turtle has a unique set of skills, and you're encouraged to sample each of them if you want to unlock certain higher level upgrades. These power-ups can make or break a run with a decent variety of effects benefiting those open to switching up their combat techniques. And most importantly, it's a far more accessible way into roguelikes than many of its contemporaries, with a selectable easy mode available in the pause menu to be toggled on or off at any point during the run. Both the online and local co-op options help Splintered Fate stand apart from the roguelike crowd enough that it isn't entirely a copy and paste rundown of the genre's best bits. Roguelikes can be a tough nut to crack, with dense upgrade systems and intimidating difficulty curves, and while Splintered Fate absolutely delivers on its upgrades and level of challenge, the option to let a friend lend a helping hand is very welcome, particularly in later enemy-filled encounters. And blimey do those encounters become packed. The visual style gets the job done. It's a little bit mobile-y, but let's not forget its origins. But it sometimes becomes a little bit difficult to keep an eye on your turtle. Often, waves of mutants and ninjas will flood the screen and overwhelm with unique attack animations. A few swift dashes help separate the crowd, but at certain points, the number of enemies serves as a swift reminder that co-op is the way to go. In solo, things are tough. Initially, you're underleveled and the game wants you to know it. You're going to die a lot, but lively voice acting and an original story from TMNT legend Tom Waltz keeps us coming back for more, even if some of the dialogue encounters lasted a little bit longer than we'd like. Again, difficulty modifiers are there to make things a little bit easier or harder, but the base game already offers a healthy level of challenge. After our first successful run, additional challenges helped spice up the gameplay, so even with a decent number of character upgrades under our belt, things continue to feel relatively fresh. The dialogue and story systems aren't as reactive as that found in Hades, and we found ourselves reeling off lines long before the characters had the chance to say them, but random mini-boss encounters, changing attack patterns, and fluctuating enemy density means that the runs can still feel unique even if you opt for a similar build every time. We were still having fun during our repeated playthroughs, and we were happy to see things gradually open up, but after we got to grips with everything, some of Splintered Fate's flaws started to creep to the surface. Combat is fluid enough, but the the turtle's arsenal of attack, special, and tool means that most encounters become very button-mashy in a way that the best hack and slashers tend to avoid. Enemy attacks are forecast by visual damage zones as they power up, so defeating them becomes a case of getting out of the way and spamming Y until a better option is available. This isn't helped by the game's shaky performance on Switch. Splintered Fate is reasonably stable during busy scenes, but the frame rate regularly drops when multiple enemies are spawning on screen or in sequences with large detailed backgrounds. We also experienced a handful of hard crashes while carrying out simple tasks like visiting the in-game shop. Fortunately, an autosave feature meant that we could just reboot and hop back into our run without a hitch, but it hardly helps with the room-to-room flow. There is a cinematic mode setting which caps the frame rate at 30 FPS to quote-unquote increase image quality, though we found the visual improvements to be negligible and we actually preferred the higher but unstable frame rate. These issues don't overshadow what is a perfectly enjoyable and approachable roguelike, but they do hammer home how this is a formula that has been done better in the past. The debt to Hades is just too strong to ignore, and while the performance slip-ups and repeated dialogue scenarios are frustrating in isolation, they are all the more emphasized by a constant reminder that this radical roguelike isn't the award-winning odyssey that it mimics. With a gameplay loop that effortlessly integrates the hero's inner half-shell into the world of roguelikes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate is a fun and approachable quote-unquote Hades-like that's best played with pals. However, despite the power of an IP and co-op edition, it doesn't pack enough of a punch to avoid unfavorable comparisons to Supergiant's classic and constantly feels like it's on the back foot because of it. There is fun to be had here, but those who have spent time in the underworld will find it hard to shake the feeling that this central loop has been done much better elsewhere. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, you're getting a 7 out of 10 from us. You've reached the end of the review. That means it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and to be brutally honest, I don't have that many. Jim, I feel, did an excellent job of summing everything up, and I don't really have anything that directly contradicts what he said. Although I will say that I didn't find this that hard. Don't get me wrong, I died on my first run. It's not like I did a one-shot or anything like that, but certainly compared to something like Hades, you know, certainly the bosses and things like that, it just doesn't seem to put up as much of a fight, and realistically, the challenge seems to come from just artificially gimping you, rather than rewarding the skill and the upgrades that you've picked up along the way. It just sort of feels like the first time you play it, there's no way you're going to get through because there's just too much stuff on the screen and you can't kill things fast enough. And this is the point where someone in the comments links me to a video where someone did their first time, like, using their knees or something. There's just nothing, like, particularly exceptional about this game. There's nothing, like, hugely bad with it either. It's very by the numbers, and I suppose the best thing I can say about it, like the biggest thing in my mind, is the fact that it's actually quite an approachable roguelike, which is a point that Jim made as well, but it's a point worth making. Most of them wear their difficulty on their sleeves, so the fact that you can play this with the easy mode as well, which admittedly I didn't try, I didn't feel the need to, but who knows, maybe I could have got even further if I'd turned that sucker on. But I just didn't fancy it. The voice acting's fun, the dialogue does go on for bloody ages though, and it really feels like it could have been trimmed down. I mean, it's nice to have a bit of story in there. It just sort of outstayed its welcome for me. I found myself skipping a lot. But yeah, you know, it's fine. It's fun even. It's just unremarkable.